Hi everyone, this is Engineer Mark Anthony L. Ponzalan, your instructor for this course Feedback and Control System. For today, our lesson or topic is all about the introduction to the feedback and control system. At the end of this session, so learners will be able to first define a control system and explain its importance. Number two, identify the components and variables of a control system. Afterwards, you're going to differentiate an open loop and closed loop systems and classify practical control system applications. A key area of engineering that reaches across many technical areas is the multidisciplinary field of control system engineering. Control engineers are concerned with understanding the controlling segments of their environment, often called systems, which are interconnections of elements and devices for a desired purpose. Again, ang systems ay interconnection ng bawat elements at bawat devices para sa isang purpose. Let's define what a control system is. A control system consists of subsystems and processes or plants assembled for purpose of obtaining a desired output with desired performance given a specified input. As you can see in this figure, we have here a block diagram wherein we have the input or the stimulus, which is your desired response. Then we have this control system and then another arrow for the output or response or the actual response of the system. The input-output relationship represents the cause and effect relationship of the process, which in turn represents a processing of the input signal to provide a desired output signal. For example, consider an elevator. When a fourth floor button is pressed on the first floor, the elevator rises to the fourth floor with a speed and floor leveling accuracy designed for passenger comfort. The push of the fourth floor button is an input that represents our desired output. So kapag kinlik natin yung number, for example, number 4, kapag kayo sumakay ng elevator, so definitely yung input natin na fourth floor button na pag-push natin doon, ayun yung tinatawag na desired output kasi gusto nating pumunta sa fourth level. The performance of the elevator can be seen from the elevator response curve in the given figure. So we have the two major measures of performance. First, we have here the transient response and another is the steady state error. Sa ating example, the passenger comfort and the passenger patience are dependent upon the transient response. If this response is too fast, sobrang bilis ng elevator, so the passenger comfort is sacrificed. And on the other hand, kapag sobrang bagal naman, so the passenger patience is sacrificed. Meanwhile, for the steady state error, it is another important performance specification since the passenger safety and convenience would be sacrificed if the elevator did not properly level. Okay? So as you can see here, uh, given number 4 is your input command and for the transient response, it is the patience and comfort. Then afterwards, for the steady state response, as you can see, as it approaches to our desired output, which is level 4. Here, we can see the steady state error as there are error in the performance specification of the elevator. Early elevators were controlled by hand ropes or an elevator operator. Here are rope which is cut to demonstrate the safety brake. So, an innovation in early elevators, one of two modern dual lift elevators makes its way up to the Grand Arc in Paris. Two elevators are driven by one motor, with each car acting as a counterbalance to the other. Today, elevators are fully automatic using control systems to regulate the position and its velocity. With control systems, we can move large equipment with precision that would otherwise be impossible. We can point huge antennas toward the farthest reaches of the universe to pick up faint radio signals. Controlling these antennas by hand would be impossible. Because of control systems, elevators carry us quickly to our destination, automatically, stopping at the right floor. We alone could not provide the power required for the load and the speed. Motors provide the power and control systems regulate the position and speed. For example, a radar antenna positioned by the low power rotation of a knob at the input requires a large amount of power for its output rotation. A control system can produce the needed power amplification or power gain. Robots designed by control system principles can compensate for human disabilities. Control systems are also useful in remote or dangerous locations. For example, a remote controlled robot arm can be used to pick up material in radioactive environment. For example, in a temperature control system, the input is in a position on a thermostat. The output is heat. Thus, a convenient position input yields a desired thermal output. Another advantage of a control system is the ability to compensate for disturbances. Typically, we control such variables as temperature and thermal systems, positions, and velocity in mechanical systems, and voltage, current, or frequency in electrical systems. The system must be able to yield the correct output even with a disturbance. For example, considering an antenna that points in a commanded direction, if wind forces the antenna from its commanded position or if a noise enters internally, the system must be able to detect the disturbance and correct the antenna's position. Obviously, the system's input will not change to make the correction. Consequently, the system itself must measure the amount of the disturbance, has repositioned the antenna, and then return the antenna to the position commanded by the input. Now let's dive in with the history of control system. First, in the liquid level control. The water clock or clepsydra, invented by the 3rd century BCE Greek engineer Ctesibius in Alexandria, improved timekeeping by using automated feedback system. Water trickled into a vessel at a steady rate, raising a float connected to a pointer or mechanical gear system to show the passing hours accurately. Another in liquid level control, we have Phylon of Byzantium. Around 250 BCE, it is a groundbreaking early invention in self-regulation and feedback control. It is automatically maintained a constant level of oil in the burner reservoir to ensure an even, uninterrupted flame without human intervention. In 1679, French physicist Denis Papin invented the safety valve for his steam digester, an early form of the pressure cooker. After early prototype vessels exploded under high steam pressure, Papin created a pressure relief deadweight valve using a weighted lever arm to safely vent excess steam. So how the safety valve work? So weighted control, a small plug or piston set over a release hole in the lid, held down by a movable weight on a level or lever arm. For the pressure release, when a steam pressure inside the iron pot rose past the weight's limit, it pushed the valve open to vent steam. Releasing the excess drop kept the vessel stable and prevented catastrophic failures. So, part of the history of control system is the invention of the pressure cooker. Temperature controls in the 17th century, Dutch inventor Cornelis Drebbel invented an early mechanical thermostats and self-regulating incubator for hatching eggs. This device is widely recognized as one of the first recorded feedback-controlled mechanical system in history. So how does it work? A fire or alcohol-powered lamp warmed a water jacket and air surrounding the egg chamber. A glass vial containing a mix of alcohol and mercury was placed inside the heating system to monitor the temperature. As heat increased, the liquids expanded and pushed a float upward. The float was linked to a damper that choked or opened the airflow, adjusting the flame intensity automatically to keep a steady temperature. For the speed control, inventor Sir William Cubitt created the patent sail in 1807. It uses movable wooden louvers or shutters on windmill sails. A remote control system adjusts these louvers like a Venetian blind while the mill turns. This keeps the speed safe and steady without stopping the machinery. How this system works? So each sail uses small wooden slats similar to window louvers. A rod runs through a hole drilled directly inside the main windshaft. Connecting rods and bell crank levers link the central control rod to the slats. A chain and hanging weights on the ground pull the linkage, acting like an umbrella to open or close the louvers automatically. James Watt adapted and refined the centrifugal flyball governor in 1788 to control the speed of his steam engines. Through the underlying centrifugal concept was already used earlier in the 7th century for windmills and water wheels. How the governor works? Spindle rotation, so a belt connected to the engine spins a vertical shaft. Higher engine speeds cause the weighted metal flyballs to swing outward and upward. Linkages pull a sliding sleeve which partially closes the steam throttle. Slower speeds drop the ball inward, opening the valve to increase the power of the steam. Under stability, stabilization, and steering, so in 1868, James Clerk Maxwell published the stability criterion for the third order system based on the coefficients of the differential equation. In 1874, Edward John wrote using a suggestion from William Kingdon Clifford that was ignored earlier by Maxwell, and was able to extend the stability criterion to the fifth order systems. In 1877, the topic for the Adams Prize was the criterion of dynamical stability. In response, Root submitted a paper entitled A Treatise on the Stability of a Given State of Motion and won the prize. This paper contains what is now known as the Root-Hurwitz criterion for stability. Moreover, in 1874, Henry Bessemer using a gyro to sense a ship motion and applying power generated by the ship's hydraulic system, moved the ship's saloon to keep it stable. In 1922, the Sperry Gyroscope Company installed an automatic steering system that used the elements of compensation and adaptive control to improve performance. Nicholas Minorsky, a Russian born in 1885, it was his theoretical development applied to the automatic steering of ships that led what we call today proportional plus integral plus derivative, or PID, or the three-mode controllers. In the late 1920s and early 1930s, H. W. Bode and H. Nyquist at Bell Telephone Laboratories developed the analysis of feedback amplifiers. These contributions evolved into sinusoidal frequency analysis and design techniques currently used for feedback control systems. In 1948, Walter R. Evans, working in the aircraft industry, developed a graphical technique to plot the roots of characteristic equation of a feedback system, whose parameters change over a particular range of values. Before we proceed to the discussion of open loop and control loop systems, let's have the basic terminologies. First is the control variable. It is a quantity or condition being measured and controlled. On the other hand, manipulated variable. It is a quantity or condition that is varied by the controller so as to affect the value of the controlled variable. So, tatandaan, kapag minemeasure or kinokontrol, controlled variable. At kapag ka naman ito yung binavary natin para makaapekto dun sa ating value ng controlled variable, that is the manipulated variable. Control. By definition, it is measuring the value of the control variable of the system and applying the manipulated variable to correct of limit deviation of the measured value from a desired value. When we talk about plant in feedback and control systems, it may be a piece of equipment, perhaps just a set of machine parts functioning together, the purpose of which is to perform particular operation. Example, it is any object to be controlled, mechanical device, heating furnace, chemical reactor, or a spacecraft. Processes. A series of actions that produce something or that lead to a particular result. For system, it is a group of devices or artificial objects or an organizing forming a network especially for distributing something or serving common purpose. Disturbances, an unwanted external or internal signal that adversely affects the system's output value. For feedback control, it is a core process in a closed-loop control system that measures the actual output of the system, compares it to the desired reference input or set point, and use the difference or error to adjust the system action and reach the target.